I've just thought I should have recorded that. What a muppet.
Yeah. What's happening on the weekend, Tim?
Uh,
Are you having a retreat?
with the distinct possibility of being accused of being repetitive, at the weekend there's a retreat. 3 meetings on Saturday and 3 on Sunday. But if you can't come to all of it, I've said all that once.
Yeah.
But if you're interested, go to the website. And if you would like to not come to all of it, but some of it, then again, email me.
Is that the 5th and 6th of February?
Thanks, Darren. It is.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, I might come along.
You've got no choice. Oh, and I've got something else to announce. In 3 weeks' time, I've booked the Philadelphia Association room in Hampstead for a live meeting in the flesh. So that's on Saturday afternoon, the 19th of February. And I'll put all the details on the website, and I'll put it on Facebook. And I'll say one more thing. If you would like, if you're not on the email list for meetings and would like to be, then again, email me with your details and I'll put you on the mailing list. Yeah, so that's exciting to actually meet people. I'm excited about that. Because this is good, but it's not as good as, you know, touching flesh. Maybe I'm making a bit much. It's not good, not as good as I don't know. It's a bit more real life, isn't it? Whatever that means. I'm looking forward to it anyway. You hear quite a lot in non-duality that there's nothing that you can do. Or that you have no control. That's really not what's being said here. It's really not that you don't have control, or that you don't have power, or that you don't have choices. It's that there is no one to have power, to have a choice, to be in control. I understand why it's heard like that, because that's how I heard the message. But a lot of the frustration with this message comes from the sense of, well, there's nothing I can do. No, you can do anything. There's just no you doing it. There's no you in control, and there's no you out of control. There's no you who has power, and there's no you who is powerless. What me fears intensely is the sense of losing control, being out of control. Because I am the illusion of I am, and the illusion of being in control, of feeling that I do have volition, free will, autonomy, personal power. Of course, with that comes the fear of losing it. There is nothing to be lost. That's the message. There is no you to lose free will. There is no you to lose responsibility or power. There is no you to become powerless. I am and the illusion of control are one and the same. And the freedom and the peace and the love that's spoken of is simply as it is, without that illusion of control. It's not for me to give it up. That would be more control. It's not for me to become accepting or surrendered. That's more power. Look how powerfully surrendered I am. I feel so much more in control now I'm accepting. This isn't about a certain way of being. It's everything appearing freely as it does, as it is. And it's nothing new. We're not talking about something that could happen. This is already free. This is already complete. And I think completeness and wholeness are misheard. The wholeness is not a wholeness that is known, because the wholeness is the emptiness. So rather than the wholeness being one whole, it's a zero. It's empty. Nothing is the wholeness. Nothing is the completeness. Nothing is everything. And that isn't something to be attained or that you need to wait for. It is already the case. This is the end of waiting. The obviousness that there's nothing to wait for, simply because there's nothing to come. And that's an impossibility. It's not possible for me self to get that, because I am and waiting are again the same energy, the same energy is not the right word. The same delusion. I know I was waiting until I knew wholeness, until I knew oneness, until I knew completion. There's nothing to be completed. There's nothing to become whole. There's nothing to become one. And the end of waiting does have a downside, because of course it does kill, in a very real way, hopes, dreams, fantasies, and to an extent, imagination. Because the fuel of imagination is hopes and dreams of an imagined future. And that's why this message can sound nihilistic, you know, that it's the end of hope, which sounds hopeless. But it's a great paradox that the end of hope is the end of hopeless. Without hope, hopeless dies completely. So there's nothing that needs to be done, that needs to be attained, that needs to be got. But that doesn't mean to say that there won't be doing to get things, to do things. It's all happening naturally anyway. The only illusion is that you're doing it, or that she's doing it, that I'm doing it. So if you'd like to ask a question or share anything, then just put your hand up or write in the chat. Feel free to ask anything or say anything.
Dario, he's got his hand up.
Hi, Dario.
Hi, Tim.
Hi there.
What was I saying? I had two questions. Okay, actually, one question. You said, when I heard this message.
Yeah.
What did you mean with I then in this statement?
Just a figure of speech. I mean, I don't. Well, when I heard this message, the sense was that I was hearing it, that it was me that was hearing it. And what was in it for me.
That's actually my second question. The me always has assumptions about what something means. Like,
yeah.
For example, what you said right now, the me could interpret it like, oh, I shouldn't come to these meetings because there's nothing here.
Yeah.
But that's, you never implied that in a way, like just assuming.
Well, I'm not. No, because I wouldn't hold any meetings if no one came. What would I do then? But no, I'm not implying that you should come or you shouldn't. You know, it's just saying that there's no knowing the reasons. So what me wants to know, what self wants to know is why. Why is this happening? Why am I doing that? Why does she do that? Why does Dario turn up to this meeting even though he knows it's pointless? There's no, this is not about giving answers to any questions about how or why shit happens. I mean, you could describe non-duality. The message that wants to be said here is, oh no, it's just that shit happens. And all investigation into why is utterly futile, other than giving self a greater sense of, oh, now I know a little more. I'm a little closer. I'm getting there. That's the game. And this is the end of the game. The playing goes on, but it's like the play. You could say the play continues without the actor. Because self is the illusion of self is being self-aware that I know I'm the actor. So I'm self-conscious because I know I'm the one who's, that's what dies. That's what we're speaking of, that can, for no apparent reason, just be absent. And then there's simply not knowing. It's not replaced by anything. It's just, there's no, and really the most obvious change is there's no more questions. Simply the one who needed to know or wanted to know why, I don't know, he's just lied down and had a nap and he hasn't got up. No interest. No interest in why.
But the body has to get up.
The body gets up on its own. That's the whole illusion that, you know, I need me to get fucking, I'd never get out of bed without me. It's me that gets me up in the morning. You know, that's the great lie. That's the great illusion of self, that I'm doing this. I'm managing all of this. And without me, oh my God, it would all fall apart. Well, wonder of wonders. You were always redundant. So although this is like, you know, it sounds like this is a great shift or a huge change in being, it's not at all. It's incredibly ordinary, wonderfully, incredibly ordinary. And that is one of the reasons why I often say, this is not what you want. This is not what I wanted. This is not for me. There's nothing here for you or me. There's nothing in this. And that's never what self wants to hear.
One more short thing, maybe I want to reflect on you. Like people that work with the idea of God, they sometimes say, let's say here you say, I have a glimpse, and they might say like, God took over or something. And then through God's hand, it happened, and by God's will or whatever. Yeah. Would you say that's kind of like a similar idea of pointing at what is being pointed at, like, or can be? Of course, like God is so abstruse, like there's so many.
I think it could, yeah, I think it could be, because if your conditioning is, you know, if you believe in God, if self believes in God and is heavily conditioned with a belief in God, then it might be interpreted as God. Yeah, I guess that. I mean, there are some speakers who speak as this as God. Here, Tim was already a confirmed atheist, so there was no sense of this sense of completion, of wholeness, was never interpreted as God. But yeah, I could see how it could be.
Thanks.
There aren't any rules. And I will say it's very obvious. It seems really obvious to me that you will never agree with another human being, either as a sense of self or in what we're speaking of. And, you know, if self falls away, if self stops appearing, if the sense of being me stops, your interpretation of that, the way you speak about it, or how it is communicated, will be absolutely unique. Utterly. Now, that's not spoken about much. There is this myth that there is a universal truth about this wholeness, completion. And I don't just mean in non-duality, just generally in spirituality, that there is this truth. But it is in non-duality as well, that there will be, well, I can't be there yet because I don't really see it just like Tim does, or Tony does, or Lisa does, or whoever you've identified, or whoever you'd like to hear speak about this. Well, it's not quite the same here. No, of course it's fucking not. There's not another human being the same as what you've called yourself. The uniqueness of each human being is more obvious, not less, without self. The problem with feeling like me is all I see in another human being is another me. And why aren't they more like me? So I can, you know, I'm endless. Me is always trying to find me's who are most like me, you know, because then I can identify with them and they'll be my best friend. And, you know, if they're attractive, maybe they'll be my lover. And then maybe they could complete me or help me become complete. And I mean, freedom from that shit is worth talking about. One of the things that is dreadful about not feeling like me is the impossibility of another human being completing me. It is the absolute death of that myth, that fantasy, that dream, the dream of finding the one. This is completely alone. The aloneness can feel utterly overwhelming. I would say initially, if self stops appearing, the aloneness is so palpable, so it can feel dreadful. And it's not that, you could say it seems like there's a getting used to it. And the aloneness is the completion. There is this alone. That's it. And it's completely empty.
Dimitri has his hand up.
Hi, Dimitri.
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
I wondered if you could talk to how you sense time these days. How do you perceive it? How do you sense it?
Sense what, sorry?
Sense of time.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, that seems to be, takes a while to get used to, because one of the things about the aloneness is there is this alone. So there is no past and future. So in that sense, it feels like a great loss, because the reality of the past, everything I called my life, is obviously just a story. Now the story remains, but it's not believed, it's not solid, it's not real in any way compared with how it was for me. And so with me, time dies. So the absence of me is the absence of time. And yet all time is, I mean, we have to talk in time, language is time. All time is present. So it's not like the past dies, the past is here. Mm. The future is here. And you could say there's only here, there is no here. But language is limited in describing without time. But the past remains as memory, but it is just memory, and memory is just story. And the stories, when retold, even, you know, just in thought to yourself, you could say, when thoughts appear about the past as memory, they're always new. That's ever fresh. You don't have the same memory twice. You might want to challenge that, but I would say that's absolutely true. You know, that memories are not the solid truth of what happened in the past. They're not.
No, of course not. They, like, I think of them as like a compression of the infinity into a bunch of abstractions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And each time memory appears as thoughts, then it's always new. It's always different. It's always a reconstruction.
Of course, because everything is different right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, in my own experience of observing this, whatever shifo you call it, is the stories about the past, they have morphed and evolved. And initially there was always about, oh, you know, better story. But then eventually they were just like, oh, they're memories of stuff, but there's no emotional volume to them, if you will.
No.
Yeah. No,
because the emotional volume comes from, oh, what can I learn from the past? What can I improve on from what? So what is there in my memory of the past, of what I did, how I performed, whether I was successful or a failure? What did I do?
Who's to blame?
Who's to blame, exactly. So who's responsible? And,
right.
And really, that's all for me to feel more in control.
Yeah. That's the hope, to find the control, to change. And, you know, then in the future, you know, it'll be so good because now I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Roberta has a hand up.
Roberta.
Yes. Hi. Hello.
Hi,
thanks,
Roberta.
Tim. Hi. I keep my video off because I'm long distance. But I had a question, like sometimes when you describe your message, you talk about obviousness and
yeah, I'm sorry.
As me, I can.
Go on.
Oh yes, my audio is not good.
No,
so I wonder sometimes. I'll continue, and there may be some lag. When I feel thoughts that feel so imperative, like there's this urgent need to have a reason to get out of bed and continue some reason to live, like that feeling like a reason to live. is now, that's changing as I hear more about this message. But the impact of thoughts like that, and feeling like I'm this listener to thoughts that seem to be intrusive or bombarding me with, that I don't even want to give weight to anymore. So I'm up by kind of hoping you might get the gist of a question out of that recall of experience that I feel. Thank you. Did that come across?
I'm sorry, I didn't get a question out of that, Roberta. No, I mean, I understand that's yeah, that's what's happening. That's how it is. And that does make sense, because, you know, if
and if I turn and feel like all I want to really do is like ride along with this body as it wakes up, and kind of be present for what happens as it is just happening, I can only sort of trust that it's about the happening, and it's about the love and the variety and the scope of potential possibilities any day or moment may hold. And I feel like that is enough of a reason.
yeah, well, if you feel that's enough of a reason, then it is, yeah.
With occasional and anyway, I'll continue to listen. Thank you for listening.
Oh no, you're welcome, Roberta. It's quite hard because you got a bit of echo, and then there's a lag, and then it was repeated. But I got the gist of what you were saying.
Guylaine, is that how you say your name, Guylaine? Sorry for the long wait.
No problem, Guylaine, but it doesn't mean anything.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, Tim. I'm very happy.
I'm glad Darren did the incredibly English pronunciation of your name, which is it's made
very
my
difficult.
It's made my day that I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, the me, when it's experienced for a while, you know, I don't know, I cannot speak for any other apparent me, but this message came through and it was given like a relief, strangely. It's not like, oh no me, no. What about me? No, it was like a good news, and it was like, wow, it's wonderful, okay? But then, you know, days goes through, and I feel like a bit schizophrenic, you know, because society, what happens, seemingly happening, you know, if you put your feet in the debates or what's happening,
yeah,
well, there's nothing to say, and there's nothing to say, but it's still appearing as something, you know. What you do, Tim, you with these, do you debate? Do you have opinions? Do there ain't any real opinions after that.
Are you asking me, do I have opinions?
Yeah, do you share opinions? There ain't any justified opinion about anything, because and apparently people are so desperate that they think they have an idea of all where the world should go. Yeah. But from this perspective, well,
yeah, well, from this perspective, which is all there is yeah, I could give an opinion, but I don't care about them at all anymore. That's the big difference. So if I used to love an argument, and what I was trying to do was always prove my point to be the superior point, and to win the argument with my superior understanding and knowledge. Well, when that is seen to be utterly, utterly empty and of no value, and the arrogance of self is that I know best. So I know what would be best for you, and I know what would be best for the UK government. So I'm interested in politics, and I'm also interested in what's best for the earth. So I'm interested in green politics, and I'm interested in global warming, and I'm interested in the pandemic, and I'm interested in everything, because what I say, what self says is, well, what I've got to say and my opinion is relevant and important. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's fucking not.
I know.
No,
but
not at all. So you can give your, but the thing is about that is, then there is freedom to give an opinion, knowing full well that it's worthless.
Yeah.
And it's the worthlessness of what you think is important, what you value, what your beliefs are, all of that, all of the things that me held most dear, I seem to be as empty. And of course, you see everyone else's as empty as well. All other human beings, that their opinions, you don't value those anymore. But that, in that, you can respect everyone's, because everyone's is equally meaningless and equally valueless and equally empty. And believe it or not, there's great compassion, and you could even say love in that. You can have a discussion, but I mean, don't get me wrong, people who are really opinionated, they will annoy you, and you'll try and get away as quickly as possible, probably, because you won't be interested in engaging with it.
Well, you know, you're not able to engage with almost anything but what is actually happening in the instant, because all of this become meaningless. And so I used to be very interested too, you know, politics and everything, and I see like it's how the world is moving and what people strongly believe, and they want to search for freedom, you know, but in a way like we have truck drivers here in Canada, they all going, you know, and from the United States too, they all going to Ottawa, you know, to manifest for freedom, you know. And it looks like these are like teenagers that just don't know what to do, but they don't feel, you know, they want to do something because there is oppression. But it's like cinema now, you know. Okay.
Yeah. It is like watching a play.
Yes. Okay. So we are robbed from all what you used to talk about, think about. There's nothing left, and there's only, fortunately enough, people like you and others, even if this is not real people, but gosh, the loneliness that you were talking about previously, this is it.
Yes.
It's magic, but it's magic for no one.
Yes.
And almost impossible to share too, so.
Yeah, impossible to share, but that won't necessarily stop you trying to share it.
Yeah, I can't help myself. Sometimes I'm making trouble with that, but.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, if I was giving you some advice, I would just say, you know, just be, you can't do this, but
no.
choose who you share it with, because really only share it when asked to share it. Don't share it randomly, because most selves
They get angry. They get very angry.
Yeah, you'll end up in conflict.
Yeah, maybe they will push me to the hospital, you know, because
Yeah,
we look crazy. That's crazy, this message.
I mean, I've told the tale of being pushed up the wall by my throat in the pub when I was evangelical about this and thought I should stand on the street corner. You know, like the Christian evangelists stand on the street corner and preach. Well, and there was a I did have an evangelical period, you could say, where I would want to tell everyone I met.
Yeah, I opened a Facebook page, you know, some nobody's wisdom, and I just share things, but you know, that's all, because I cannot speak that with anybody around. No, it's impossible. But okay. Thank you, Tim.
Oh, thank you. But you're right about good news. I mean, that's why you can, there can be an evangelism about this. You hear it and it is great. It's incredible news. It's more than great. Yes, it's just the most wonderful news. It just happens to be dreadful news for me. I mean, it's unthinkable news to me. That's the thing about this message is it's not bad news for me. It's unimaginably dreadful. That it's not that I might die. Most cells fear death most. Well, this is a thousand times worse than death. This is non-existence. Not that you will become non-existent, but that you already are, that you never were. I mean, it's way beyond death. Death pales into insignificance compared with never having existed.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Anyway.
Thank you.
Hey Tim, there's a question in chat that's from Ian. He says, how does Tim communicate with people when he's not communicating this message? Is the me given any recognition? He actually says, how does Tim communicate with me's? Is the me given any recognition?
Just exactly the same as I'm doing here. Different words. I don't mention the absence of me. I don't talk about completion and wholeness and freedom and love. I might mention love. Most people are okay with that, as long as as long as you don't elaborate on what you mean by it. I might mention peace. Do you know this? You may know this already. But most cells couldn't give a shit about what you say, about what you're interested in, about what you're doing. Self is utterly self-absorbed. So the fact that most of my friends, most of my family think what I'm doing here is complete bollocks, will not entertain it, think I'm still just, it's still just a very late midlife crisis. It's just another of Tim's cries for help. It's just another breakdown that seems to be going on for about 4 or 5 years now. I thought maybe he'll snap out of it soon. That's how I relate to most me's. But as long as, so I think I'm treated with pity by most me's. So you need to probably be prepared for that. You can't be prepared for that. But I don't know, this is an interesting question, because I don't see me's anymore. I don't see no me's either. There are no me's any more than there are any me's. I mean, there's another great myth. So if your self dropped away, your sense of being me stopped appearing, then you would be able to tell almost instantaneously whether it was a self you were speaking to or an empty. I'm using the word empty because it's the noun that my friend came up with when she she phoned me and said, "So how is it now you're an empty?" I went, "What do you mean?" "Well, now you've had the shift, you're an empty." I went, "No, there's no more an empty than there is a full. There's no difference between empty and full. There's no knowing fullness from emptiness." That's the whole fucking message in a nutshell. You think that you can tell empty from full. That's what self says. Full is empty. Empty is full. There's no difference. Until I say so. Until I say I know the difference. That's all. So how do I speak to all the me's? Well, in a very ordinary way, I guess. There's no problem with speaking in, ordinary pronouns of you, me, we, us, them. It's making a big deal of that. Anyone, I mean, I could say there's a good sign. There's a good sign of whether me is still apparent or not. Anyone who makes a big deal about using such pronouns. That would be me making a big deal about that kind of stuff. Like it matters. It doesn't matter.
Dimitri has his hand up.
Dimitri.
Yes, thank you. I just want to comment on what Ghislaine was saying is I love debating, and I don't see any problem with that because actually now I'm still sharing my stories, my opinions, my thoughts. Mm-hmm. But now I do it with full conviction. One is that both of us are correct. And also my own story is total bullshit, right? And whenever it gets too heated, then I just remind them of that. Hey, you know what? We both know that we have correct stories. The only difference is that I know that my story is bullshit, right? And then people, they relax a little bit, right? And one other way I think about this, it's now very clear that every me lives in their own universe, right? So of course, you cannot see things in the same way I do, because your universe is a totally different universe of you, right? So I just like their opinions or whatever, I find them absolutely, totally fascinating pointers to the way that particular universe is constructed. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. How much variety and how many different, and somebody start telling me about, no, enlightenment is there are 60 levels and you have to go through this. I'm like, wow, why not, right? This is so amazing. I'm a simple guy. I grew up without any religion and stuff. So yeah, I have a simple story. I wish I had a story like this. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah. And again, it's just each human being is utterly unique. And what seems to have happened here is I'm really not interested in debating at all.
Right.
Whereas it seems here that all the energy for that desire to debate was to be right. And once the illusion that anyone could get this right.
I sense that I used to have this need to be right. And when that fell away, then I'm like, oh, but it's still fun to share ideas. And actually, there's this childish desire to provoke people just for fun. Like, I love fun. I love being silly, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, of course I'm not right, but it's much easier now. And then, and then I'm provoking somebody, and then they tell me that I'm an asshole. Of course, they should do that, right? Like, why wouldn't they? It's not a problem.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not a problem at all. Thanks, Dimitri. Laura.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this is like a loss of all knowing, and everything is in a way empty. There are still the names for example, the objects like the lamp or the bottle, but it's not known, and it's like there is no separation. Like, and whatever is going on or not. It's a very very quiet in a way,
Yeah.
very quiet,
Right.
surprisingly still in a way.
Yeah, that's so true. Life is much more quiet without me.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's funny because me was the only thing that said I am. Like, me was only real to itself in a way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That is it. It's a closed loop. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why it cannot be punctured, or nothing can be said, or like it just pops or not in a way. Like,
Yeah, you could say that.
yeah.
But yeah, that's nice what you're saying about quiet. It's much quieter because just the absence of questions.
Yeah.
The absence of most of the questioning.
Yeah.
Especially anxiety. I mean, anxiety, fear for myself and fear for my future. I mean, for most selves, that fills life.
Yeah.
That fills life with
Yeah.
endless questions.
Yes. And even like the let's say the unstripping of fear, or the making the apparent nakedness of fear is not that fearful as imagined.
No.
That's this very beautiful thing in a way.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, fear is nothing to fear.
Yes. Yes.
And self is very afraid of fear.
Yes.
Because what fear says to self is there's something wrong and I must act. I need to act quickly because the fear will overwhelm me. It'll be too much for me. Whereas fear is not dangerous at all.
Yes. Yes. Oh, very beautiful.
And
I love hearing when you speak. Go on. Thanks.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks. Thanks, Naomi. Yeah. And all the empties present. There's none of those. Ah.
Ghislaine, do you still have a question? Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I just can't help myself to think that the me's that don't exist are under pressure, and it's like I cannot help myself to find a meaning on that. All the society is under pressure. It's only the story, but the me's are also under pressure. So is it possible? I don't know if it doesn't make sense probably, but that something is happening in the story of me, maybe is gone to its ends because it's so much suffering. I don't know, it's a story, but
yeah,
why not?
Yeah, well, nothing's going to end. This is always the end and the beginning. Yeah. And the whole illusion is that there's space between those two. So the illusion that self lives in is the illusion that I am continuous in the space between birth and death, in that space between beginning and ending. There is no space between.
What if it's an idea that is apparently appearing for not really anyone, but it's like an idea that just going to its, because the me doesn't exist, and apparently there is all these me's that have opinions and ideas on how the world should work, and the world doesn't even exist. It's just like
well, the thing with that, with the whole existence thing, when there is no sense of I exist, if for no reason or for any reason, there's no knowing how or why, but if I exist doesn't appear, then there is simply what is. And there is no sense that it doesn't exist any more than it does exist. There's simply not knowing. I mean, you could say the absolute of non-duality is that existence and non-existence are not two.
No. But it happens, it appears like, there's that much videos that now popping on the YouTube, So there is it seems like an idea or, it looks like something happening.
Yeah, it looks like. You could say that that's what life is. Life is, it looks like that's happening. Or it seems like that's happening.
But that's it.
Looks like that. Do I know that it's happening? No. Do I know that it's not happening? No. Do I know the difference between it happening and not happening? No.
Yeah.
And
there is no explanation.
No, and with that, it is the not knowing that is the most amazing news, is the good news. The good news is that this is all there is and all there isn't. There is no knowing the difference, no matter what anyone else has told you, whatever you've heard, whatever you've read, this is not knowable. If it is simply unknowable, that's the peace that passes all understanding. That's the end of all questions. That's the end of all debating. That's the end of being interested in finding someone who really knows the fucking truth. Because that's all I was ever trying to do. I was always looking for that one.
Yeah.
Who knew. And the freedom and the peace and the love that you've heard spoken of so much and longed for is incredibly in not knowing. Not knowable. Not understandable.
Yeah.
And in that, all desire, all need to know and understand is completely redundant. It doesn't mean that there can't be seeming knowing, seeming understanding, but it's fucking empty. It's worthless. It means not a jot. It means fuck all. And that is the good news.
Yeah.
That is the astounding news. That is the unbelievable news.
Yeah, it's the end of the illusion. But I can't help myself to see that the illusion is pushed so far, so cornered that it blows. It blows. This is what am I? Sorry for my English, but it's like, an idea that doesn't work, but it's persistent.
Yeah.
The me and all these me's and all this illusion, it's blown away by the message. But even though it's still, it fails, and then.
Yeah, it's just, it's persistent. You could say that illusion is persistent until it's not. That's all.
Nothing happens anyway.
No.
Okay.
Thanks. Well, thanks very much for coming, everyone. Pleasure as always. I really love talking about this worthless nonsense. So thank you for turning up. If you didn't turn up, then it'd just be Darren and I having a chat for an hour. So I appreciate it. And just to give my the retreat a plug again. So next weekend you can join Darren and I Saturday and Sunday, or one or the other. Just look on timclissthis.com for the details. And if you want to join for some of it, or you would, the actual cost is prohibitive, then just give me an email and we could sort something out. And also to plug that you could, we could actually meet in person in London on the 19th of February, Saturday afternoon, 2 till 5:30. And that's going to be in Hampstead.
Hi, Cliff. It's Tom.
Hi, Tom.
You want to mention the No One's Cafe?
Oh, yeah, Darren. Could you?
The link is in the chat already, yeah?
Oh, the link is in the chat.
Yeah, there's a little link in chat, and
okay.
Tom and Anya run a little kind of cafe, like where people can kind of meet and chat about non-duality, and it's on what days is it on again, Tom?
6 London time.
6 London time. Which days?
Wednesday and Sundays.
Oh, okay. Wednesday and Sunday.
Okay, so Wednesday and Sunday. The link is in the chat. If you like to waste your time talking about this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And can I say, there's nothing better to do than do this.
No one is welcome.
It's the best thing to waste your time doing. There's nothing finer. So yeah, sorry I forgot, Tom.
Oh, no problem.
But, yeah, it's in the chat.
I knew you're not gonna remember.
Thanks, Tom. So thanks very much for coming, everyone.
Thanks, Tim.
And
Lovely.
I'll have another
Tim.
meeting
Bye-bye.
next Thursday as normal. So maybe see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Darren.
oh, thanks,
Hi,
Mala.
you're
Thanks,
welcome.
Tim.
Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot. I spoke to Tom earlier, and he said, "Could you plug the cafe?" And I said I would. Then I completely forgot.
Yeah, well done.
But that's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice cafe. I've been there a few times.
Yeah, lovely job.
I'm going to stop recording. Okay.